Hello, my name is Carsten Maas. I'm the Customer Success and Training Engineer here for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And we just start. First of all, I will show you the agenda for today, the agenda. Like in the other two webinars we had, I will show you the installation and deployment options for Kerio Operator. And as yesterday, where we had the webinar about carrier control, we will go directly into the live demo because I think a live demo can show you the things better. So let's start first with the installation and deployment options. Again, with Kerio Operator, it's similar like the Kerio Control. We have a software appliance, so you can download an ISO image and you can use your own hardware. You just pop in the USB stick or the burned CD and the whole hardware will be transformed into a Kerio Operator box. Second option you have is the virtualization. So we have virtual appliances for VMware or ESXi, and we also have it for Hyper-V. And of course, we have the Kerio Operator hardware boxes. We have a small box, which is the 1210, and we have a big box, which is the 3210. And for those hardware boxes, and only for those hardware boxes, you can directly order additional Digium cards, which means when you are still relying on ISDN connections, so you can also use our operator box with an ISDN line, you need one of those offered Digium cards. So what are the requirements for Kerio Operator? First of all, we strongly recommend that you have a fixed public IP where your operator box is reachable. You can solve this also with dynamic DNS, but we, as I said, we strongly recommend that you have also a fixed public IP. And believe it or not, people are getting, let's say, more frightened when they can't be reached by phone than by email. So again, still nowadays, to be reachable by phone is more important than to be reached by an email. This is my experience, and I think you are sharing this experience with me. When you do not have email connection for, let's say, 1, 2, 3 hours, I don't know, it's not a problem. But when you can't be reached by phone, especially here in Europe, everybody starts thinking, oh, is this company still existing? So therefore, I strongly recommend that you have a fixed public IP in case your dynamic DNS service is maybe running wild or weird. When it comes to the firewall you are using, you need to have several ports open. So I have listed here the most important ports, or the ports you need which need to be opened. So if you would like to connect to the admin or to the user console, I will show you this later. You need at least port 80, port 443, and 4021 to be opened. If you want to connect to the Kerio Operator via SSH, which can of course be switched on or off in our product, you need the TCP port 22. And now there comes the most important port. This is TCP and UDP 5060 because this is the zip signaling port. Via this port, the outgoing call or the incoming call will be initiated. So this is a port where where for example two PBXs are talking to each other, and after the signaling is done and the initial connection is done, it's switching to the RTP protocol using UDP, and this will go between an interval of 1000 and 2000. And also these ports need to be open, but you should definitely restrict the usage of these ports to your internal IP address range, so nobody from outside can use or misuse your Kerio Operator. We have several security options in Kerio Operator, and I will show them to you when I'm switching to the administration console. Last part you need to have opened is the UDP 69. This is important if you're going to provisioning your phones in your network. Again, if you would like to build your own operator box, you should check if the hardware is compatible. We are using now a Debian Wheezy as the basic Linux system on this box, and this can be checked via this nice Japanese link. And do not worry, you do not need to learn Japanese. It is in English, so you can check if your hardware is compatible. For ISDN, if you still are relying on an ISDN connection, it is important for you to know that only the Digium cards are supported by our Kerio Operator. I make a small side note. Kerio Operator is based on Asterisk, not Asterix. This is the guy from Asterix and Obelix, the famous comic strip. It's Asterisk, so we have not reinvented the wheel, but we have, I think from my point of view, we have reinvented how you can use and configure this wheel. So basically the components of Kerio Operator are based on Asterisk, and the underlying operating system is called a Kerio OS operating system, which is again based on Debian Wheezy. We name it Kerio OS because we use a hardened Linux. For those who don't know what a hardened Linux means, we have stripped out every component in this Linux system which is not necessary for Kerio Operator to work. So every additional software, every additional driver, every additional kernel extension which is not necessary for the functionality of Kerio Operator is stripped out, and we have trimmed down the operating system to the basic needs for the Kerio Operator, and this is why it is in hardened Linux, and that's why we call it Kerio OS. When it comes to the hardware boxes, there is pretty the same thing like for the Kerio Control box. We say that approximately up to 50 users can use the small box, which always means concurrent calls. And also we say for the big box, you can go up to approximately 300 users. Again, it all depends on what you are doing with these boxes. And Marino, maybe as yesterday, you can shed some light on it, what your experience are with those boxes, as you have more contact with the customer.
Absolutely, Carsten. If you don't mind, I'll just quickly take the time to answer one of the questions from Rob.
Absolutely.
ISDN, BRI cards, yes, they're still supported. All the previously supported cards are still supported. And this links straight into the question that you were asking about the boxes. We migrated the actual hardware, the motherboard that we have on the boxes, and right now, when you have the big box, we can only support PCI Express, and Digium right now is not producing any ISDN BRI cards on that specific format. So let's have a look at the boxes. The small one doesn't have any cards in. You cannot fit anything physically in. The big one is actually a box that can be adjusted with an ISDN card. In this case, there is only one, is a PRI card. However, if you are using external devices, they commute ISDN to SIP, everything else would be supported. There's no problem at all.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Marino. And we will continue. We have a second question here. We can supply analog and ISDN2 zip gateways to partners that need them at trade price. Exactly. Thank you, Simon. This means you can use some external box to meet your needs when it comes to the ISDN part. I think, Simon, this is what you basically would like to say. And I think, sorry, Marino, when I chime you back again, I think we also have some Italian reseller or distributor who has also made some experiences with external ISDN boxes.
Correct. Yes. In Italy, we have some people they have experience with the pattern. They are very, very good, but also a little bit complicated to set up. So you need to be careful when you go onto this type of markets. For example, the pattern is extremely reliable, very well known, but they are very complicated to set up. But if you are thinking to do something like that, please get in touch with us. And our team developed Noto provisioning. Actually, how to configure an external box is a NeoGate, and there is a knowledge base article which I would paste here in a couple of seconds, and you will actually be able to use an external box that is easier to configure than a pattern to use ISDN lines.
We can also provide those links to the KB articles on the partner portal page. As I said at the beginning of the webinar, we will send you a link afterwards, after this webinar, maybe later this day, when the recording is cutted and everything is in place. Our marketing team will send you a link to the partner portal page, so you have the ability to see also some additional knowledge base articles. Okay, so basically I think this is the first introduction and the first presentation. Before we come to the demo, there is again one question. Help! Hey Kerio, which way should I choose? Box, software appliance, virtualization? The answer is simple, or maybe not that simple. Choose the way you're comfortable with, or ask your local sales engineer. Sorry, Marino, but it always depends on the needs and also on the demands of your customer. Some of them like to prefer to have some sort of box in their rack, so they need some piece of hardware they can touch. Some of them say, oh, please configure your own box. Can you please configure your own box? You have good experiences with this machine. So, or you go for virtualization. The beauty of virtualization is that you can run everything side by side. As I said yesterday, the environment you are seeing here or you are faced with today, all these three products are virtualized in an ESXi environment. We have a root server here in Germany at the company Webtropia, and there is an ESXi, a vSphere 5.5 installed, and we have all those three products running on this root server, which brings us also, or gives us also the ability to show, for example, the reverse proxy functionality of Kerio Control. So when you are familiar already with virtualization, I would say go for virtualization, as it is, from my point of view, when you know about ESXi, it's easier to manage because you can make snapshots, you can make backups very easy. When something went wrong, there's a single click and you can return to a state when everything was functioning. So it's up to you and up to the demands of your customers. So enough talk about theory. Let's now switch to the practical part. What I've already done is that I have launched my Kerio Operator virtual appliance, and this is the thing you will also facing when you use the virtual appliance. You will be presented, and I make this window a little bit bigger so you can see it better. You will be presented with the URL where you can start configuring your Kerio operator. And here you also see the used port, and this is why it is important that this port is opened on your firewall so you can reach your Kerio operator box. And I'm just now going to type in the link into my browser, or to be more honest, I think I have already done it. No, I will do a new tab, and it's going https / 192, and let's have a look, 11.116 /admin. Now there will be a pop-up that there is a not verified certificate. This is okay because it is a self-signed certificate of our Kerio operator box. If you decline it, you are finished at that step and you can't configure your operator any further. So you need to accept it. And then the activation assistant is presented, and as you can see, it automatically detects the language of your browser. So for better understanding, I'm switching today to English so you can all understand it and not only our German friends. I click next. Again, then you need to accept the license agreement. If you are not accepting it, you are again finished at that point, but you should accept it, as otherwise you cannot use this product. We go to next, and now there comes the first point. You need to define a password for the administration account, and I'm going to type one in, and I say finished. Now it says that the server time zone will be changed because it already detects that he is in Germany. So I must reboot my Kerio operator to apply time zone changes, and I go for yes. And that you can see what it is actually doing, I'm putting in the Kerio operator terminal window, so from my virtualization, so you see the booting process. Here, by the way, you see starting Kerio OS. This is what I explained at the beginning. It's somehow our operating system on this Kerio operator installation. Now the Linux is restarting. And what now sometimes can happen, and you may see the difference now, it could happen that okay, sorry, who has clicked on polls?
Carsten,
One
I think,
second.
apologies, must have been me, apologies.
Yeah, don't worry. Okay, so now.
So I kicked you out.
Yeah, it's okay. I can live with that. So what you are now maybe seeing, and you see in the back that Kerio Operator is still, it mentioned that it is rebooting. So what can happen now is that you get a new IP address. This can happen when you're in a DHCP environment like me, and you see there's a difference between the 116 and now it has the 117. So please go here and enter the correct IP address, and now it should work. We are at the login screen. Now I need to remember my password. And you are in. Again, now that comes a little pop-up dialog if you would like to contribute with the Kerio Operator development. And I strongly recommend you that you are allowing Kerio Operator to send anonymous usage statistics to our company. There will be no private information, so don't be afraid that your installation will be exposed. But those data are very, very important for our developers. And Marino, again, I would like to give you an idea why, because you just said it also yesterday when it comes to carrier control, that those data, this data is very important for our developers.
Correct. Thank you, Carsten. Basically, we collect data on a cluster basis. So when you allow something like that, you will allow to send information like if you're using call queues, conferences, and so on. So it gets grouped together, and the developers, they can say 50% of the people are not using conference calls, or 50%, 60% are not using ringing groups. And they are very important for them to understand what features are actually being exploited by people.
Absolutely. Good. Now the operator is up and running. You see it's an unregistered trial. So here the registration dialog differs a little bit from the two registration dialogues of Carrier Connect and Carrier Control. I think those dialogues will also be changed in the upcoming future. But for now, we are at this state. So whenever you need a trial license, you need to ask for the trial license via our webpage. The other products, and for those who have been joining the webinars yesterday and the day before yesterday, you can answer for or you can request a trial license directly out of the activation dialog. But I strongly think this will also change in the near future for Kerio Operator. So what you now normally going to do and to start is that you are going to create some users. And I say add, and I will say, let's say it's myself, and the full name will be this, and I'm defining a password, email address, sorry, and of course a password. And when I now say OK, the user will be created. The problem is now I have a user, but if I would like to give him an extension, I have none. So I need to say add. There is nothing to add, but I can do it right here from the dialog. So now I can choose an extension number for this guy. And what you may see is that you have separated passwords. Here, a zip password is automatically generated. So basically, users have two passwords. One they need to know, and one they only basically need once. You have a user password and you have a zip password. The zip password is important when you want to register your phone manually with the Kerio operator. The user password is necessary if you want to log on to the Kerio operator client, which I show you later. So here, when you click on the keys, you can show and you see that the automatically generated password is not that easy to know and not that easy to understand, to remember. So note it down, configure your phone if you want to configure it manually, and then please destroy the paper where you have written it on. So I say, okay, Marino, you would like to chime in?
Yes, if you don't mind, I just want to
Of
stress
course.
how important this C password is. If you're opening up your Kerio operator to the world, this password should be very, very strong. Otherwise, you'll end up with a very big bill. Don't try to do like extension 10 password 10 or let me in a password. That will actually allow people to crack your password and make you tens of thousands of euros bills in probably a day or two. And
For,
you will not be able to recover that, I can tell you. We already had a few cases like this.
yeah. And maybe you have some of you have written the news. It was, I think, 6 or 8 weeks ago, where the so-called Fritzbox routers have been compromised, and people have hijacked the voice over IP or zip accounts and made some strange calls to some very strange numbers. And at the end of the month, the victims have been faced with, as Marino said, with bills in a height of thousands of euros, and they never knew that somebody has hijacked their zip accounts. So take care of this. Make sure you have a strong password. Um, Otherwise, when you get compromised, it's difficult to explain the zip company um, that it was not your fault and that your operator or your PBX has been hijacked. And to be honest, those phone companies, they don't care. They say, okay, then you haven't used a strong password. Okay, what you can now also directly activate in this dialog, that calls to this extension should be recorded. I need to tell you, pay attention on that for two purposes. Purpose one is it's not allowed, for example, in Germany, to record calls without noticing people who are calling you that the call may be recorded. And additionally, you need to give the callers the ability to choose whether they want to be recorded or they don't want to be recorded. This can be easily configured with auto attendance scripts. We will also have, for Kerio Operator, we will have some additional, more advanced webinars where we also will show you how to configure some auto attendant scripts and auto attendant queues. This will not be covered today. As I said in the introduction, this webinar should give you a basic idea of Kerio Operator and should help you to pass the exam. So I'm not going to click here now, record calls. The second tab you're seeing, you define the codecs. Codecs is basically means what is the quality of the call. So G711A law is basically approximately near ISDN. We have a KB article in our knowledge base where you can see a table what quality the different codecs have. The main difference between the codecs are the bigger or the better the codec is, the more bandwidth it needs. So the data which is used and which is generated is higher, the higher and the better the codec is. And secondly, your phone you are using or your soft phone must support the codec. So it wouldn't make any sense if you're using, let's say, the G711 ULAW, but the soft phone you have chosen is not supporting those codecs, or your hardware phone is not supporting those codecs. So it always have a look on your hardware and on your soft phones what codecs are supported. The codecs we have pre-selected here for you are basically all the codecs which are very, very common in all products. And the operator will always try to use the best codec. So even if your, let's say, soft phone is only supporting GSM full rate, you do not need to worry. Operator will then switch the codec during such a call to the GSM full rate and will not always try to do G711. The third tab is where you can say, okay, I want to display my caller ID, or I want to override it with some other number, or even I would like to hide my caller ID. I just say okay, and here again we have a second tab, ringing rules, where you can define what should happen if somebody is calling you. So for example, when after 15 seconds nobody is picking up the phone on extension 10, you can say, okay, fall back to voicemail. So you have a full voicemail system also integrated in the Kerio operator. It's in the asterisk itself. You can do a forward to a specific number, or you can also say if this specific number can't be reached, please fall back again on voicemail. You also have this thing you can say advanced forwarding, and this means you can forward it to some other extensions in your company. And again, if it can't be reached, it falls back on your voicemail. I say yes. You go to advanced. Again, like in our other products, you have the ability to grant administration rights to the users, so you can give per default they have no rights, and you have the possibility to give them read only or read and write access. So basically it means if you would not like to give out the admin password from the user admin, you maybe can define some colleague or somebody in your company who should support you with the Kerio operator administration, so you can grant him administration access. Me, by the way, I have only read access to our UK operator. I had read and write, but I accidentally clicked the wrong button because I thought I've been in my testing environment, and all of a sudden the upgrade process of the UK operator started, and this is why they have not granted me write access anymore. But this is only a side note. Any questions so far? If you have any questions, just type them into the public chat. There's a very interesting question from Laszlo. What about GSM gateways? And thank you, Simon. Yes, they will work too. So as far as I can see, Simon is very familiar with such additional devices, and I think Marino has also some idea about those GSM boxes you can attach to Kerio Operator.
Yes, GSM boxes, they're not any different from IDS converter. So there's many out there, and there are already people that they can actually. Yes, thank you. Simon is pointing out. Sorry, Slatek is pointing. Basically, on one side you will have a GSM, and internally you will have a SIP.
Good. Any more questions? And thank you, Simon, for posting your email address. That is very useful for us. So whenever you are in need of some, let's say, more in detail explanations about those boxes, don't hesitate. Ask Simon, who has kindly posted his email address. And as he said, you can have them from 1 port up to 72 ports, which is very nasty when you then need to change the SIM cards, and you need to change 72 SIM cards in a row. Good, perfect. So now I have created a user. He has an extension, and when I go here to extensions, I can see that this extension is bound to my person. What is now very, very nice from my point of view with Kerio Operator is that you can add multiple registrations to one of those extensions. So let's assume you have a mobile phone, you have a desktop phone, and you maybe have a soft phone on your laptop. And you do not want to use the same credentials for every of those three solutions. You want that every single hardware or software has its own registration. So you can just go here, you can highlight the user or the extension, you can say add and say add another registration. And you now immediately see that there is another one. You can go here and again, now you use the zip username 10p1, for example. This is, by the way, we have configured it here in our company. My iPhone, there is a zip client installed. I have a zip Softphone on my desktop machine, and I have a desktop hardware phone. So each of those devices has its own registration. And I think this is a pretty nice thing. So we now have the extensions, and I would maybe somehow recommend that you first, can be created even if you do not have any zip account already in place. You can create all those extensions, you can create every conference rooms, you can create the auto attendance scripts, conference. This can be all done in advance before you connect the stuff to the outside world. And I would strongly recommend that you sit together with your customer and you take a piece of paper and you take a pen, and that you are writing down what kind of extensions you would like to use and what kind of auto attendance scripts you want to use, etc. So document this before you are opening the operator box to the outside world. So we are now going here to enter and to define some zip provider. So I go to the call routing, because in the call routing area in the configuration, you will configure the interfaces and routing for the incoming calls. So at the lower left corner, you see a button which means add zip interface, and now you just click on it, and now it asks you, a wizard pops up, and you can start configuring your zip provider. And there's a very good question from Peter van der Merwe. Does the extra registration take up additional user licenses? No. Marina, what is the exact number of additional registrations I can use for a single extension? I think it's up to 3.
Correct. Basically, the licenses work in this way. When you license Kerio Operator, you will have 5 licenses, and each user will have up to 3 extensions or 3 multiple registration. So take me, for example. I have one single extension, but I have 3 registration. One for my desk phone, one my soft phone on my Mac, and one for my soft phone on my iPhone. And they will take up all the 3 extensions or registration.
And the thing is, with the multiple registrations, people do not need to know your extra registration number. They just dial your normal extension, and it doesn't matter which phone is actually online, your hardware phone, your local soft phone on your computer, or on the zip phone app on your iDevice, iPhone, Android, whatever. They all ring together. So they do not need to know that, okay, Marino is on its way and he has only his voice on, so I need to type 10P1. You just type the extension 10, and the mobile phone of Marino will ring. And this is, by the way, as a little additional side note, the beauty of such systems, such voice over IP systems. You do not need to worry where you are. People just dial your normal number, and wherever you are, because of this multiple registrations and the login possibility to such a system with a soft phone, you can reach them wherever they are. So this is, for example, when you have, let's say you're in the UK and you have a British customer, but for example, Marino was on a road trip in Germany. They just call Marino's number, and when Marino is logged in via his mobile phone, via the zip client to the operator box, even he is in Germany, the British customer can reach him under the normal office number of Marino. He is not paying any extra bills because it's going to Germany. He is just charged for a local call. And this is basically the beauty of such systems, and it makes you more independent. The thing is, wherever you are maybe moving your company, maybe you need to move to some other office center or something like that, you just pick up your operator box, you go to the new office, plug it into the internet, and you are back in business because it is independent from any phone wiring. So what I'm now going to do is to create a zip interface. Again, this will be done in the call routing, and you click on Add Zip Interface, and I will go here for Zipgate, and now I need to type in the external number where I can be reached. And this is, for example, a thing where some people are already struggling. You do not, or you have not to type the country code. You just type the number. There is no area code, no country code in front. This is all handled by the zip provider. You just type in 34, in my case, 7850. And of course you can try to now to call this number, but it will not work as this this operator instance is only running here locally. So I just type in the external number. Let's double check. 34878. There is a number missing. And type next. Now it asks you where such calls should be routed. This can be an extension, but you can also let it routed to some auto attendant script or some call queues. So I go for next. Now I need to type in the host name of where the zip provider's host name is based, and this is again zipgate.de. And I just click for you here on configure, because it could sometimes be that the incoming and outgoing, the inbound or outbound registrars are different. So you have sometimes you have zip providers which are using two different kind of servers. Well, and it depends on whether it's the incoming or the outgoing. So when you go on configure, you now have here the chance to differentiate between inbound and outbound proxy, or even they sometimes need a proxy. So you can define it here. This is not necessary for Zipgate in this case. Now I need to go for the username. Username is sometimes also called zip ID or zip registered or user ID, username, zip ID, whatever. This is for Zipgate, for example, it is called zip ID, and I'm typing in the zip ID. And you see here, normally the user ID operator will think that the user ID is identical with the phone number you're using. Here for Zipgate, the user ID is the same like the zip ID, so it's not the phone number. Now I need to type in the password. And I click finish. Now you see a loading here up there. And if you do not see some warning sign here, now I'm registered at zipgate.de and when somebody is calling this external number, the internal phone at the extension 10 will ring. Any questions so far? I would like now to switch over to our virtualized running operator box, which is in our ESXi environment. Vincent is asking if we have several outgoing zip, can we prioritize some routing? Yes, it depends in the order you have placed the zip providers. So when the it's going from top to bottom. And before we
Sorry, can I just add a little bit more?
absolutely.
in terms of priority, you will have top to bottom, but only if the first one fail. If you want to say this group of people will be using this SIP provider, then you will probably need to do by prefix. And right now, you need to do straight on the phone. So you program the phones and say this group of people, let's say the call cells, you will go around the phones and program that everything is prefixed with, I don't know, 64, and you go to provider, A, and the support people, they will be going to provider B, and there will be prefix on 69, for example.
Is this okay for you, Vincent?
No, I'm afraid, Vincent, you cannot do to prefix on extensions right now. It's been heavily asked. So when Carsten will show you vote, can you please actually vote on the suggested idea to increase this priority?
We are now at the operator administration console of our own operator system, and I would just like go quickly with you through the different areas of the administration console. First of all, again, we have here the dashboard, which you may know already from the other products. Here you can get a quick overview of some statuses, and you can even add other tiles, like for example call history. You can throw around those tiles so you can arrange them as you would like. I make it a little bit bigger so you can see it better. We have several tiles you can have on your dashboard screen. It starts from license, goes over to system and active call queues. So this gives an administrator a basic idea whether he may has some problems. What you also would see here is when somebody has tried to log in to your Kerio operator and is using the wrong credentials. Operator is recognizing such attempts and will block this IP. I will show you the dialog where you can see IPs which have been blocked. But let's go now further to the user's interface. Again, as you can see, here are the users you have created with the corresponding extensions. Here you can see the extensions you have created, and you can sort the extensions to the different persons. Now we come to an interesting point, which means provision phones. Provisioning a phone or auto-provisioning a phone means that you do not need to configure the phones manually. You just pop them into a network outlet in your office, and operator will recognize that there is a phone, and when it's known to operator, it will auto-configure this phone. We are supporting several phone models. So we support the Linksys, we support SNOM, we support Polycom, Grandstream, Yearlink. With Operator 2.3, we also started to support Astra phones, which are very common here in the European area. For a detailed overview of the supported phones, I would like to encourage you to visit our Kerio homepage. There is a list of supported phones for auto provisioning. Support for auto provisioning does not mean that you can't use any other phone. It's only that Auto provisioning means that you do not need to put hands on those phones because they will be configured automatically. When you have a model which is not supported, you still can configure it manually, or you can create your own auto provisioning profiles. How to do this can be downloaded from our homepage in the support area for Kerio Operator. There we have some documentation how you can create your own auto provisioning phones. Just to show you how it basically will work, auto provisioning, you just say add, then you need the hardware address of the phone. This means the MAC address, the MAC, Media Access Control address. This is a unique number for the phones. So, and it will be written on the package or on the phone itself. You will just type in the hardware address, then you choose the phone model, and you can see we have a huge variety of supported phone models. Then you can give it a description. For example, you can say, this is Marino's phone. You can label it. You can enter a password for this phone. And you can say, whenever this phone is attached, a new extension number should be generated. What you also can say, you can untick this and you can say add, and you would like, if this phone is connected, it should get the extension 30. That's all. I'm now pressing cancel. You will see the phones here in a list, and you also would see if they are provisioned or not. There's a second tab, which means Softphones. Softphones is basically meant we have our own Kerio Operator Softphone client, which is available for Android and iPhone. You can download it from the Google Play Store or the App Store for the Apple devices. Basically, this operator softphone client is based on BRIA, on counterpart BRIA. The only thing you need to pay attention is that you need a valid SSL certificate for your Kerio operator, as this softphone client relies on the SSL certificate. And we get a question, why is Kerio softphone price so high? Basically, we are not making any money of it. It is a rebranded counterpart BRIA. So counterpart also wants to have some money. So basically, you must believe me, we are not making any money out of this product. It's just a rebranded counterpart BRIA. We have a second question, Windows Phone softphone client. There is a huge variety of softphone clients. There are free ones, there are payable ones. Me, for example, I'm also not using our Kerio Operator softphone client. It's not because I don't like it. It is just because I have already bought from Acrobits. I have bought Groundwire, and this is a softphone client I use for years. I definitely think also for Windows phones you will find some free softphone client. In the call routing area we have already been. This is where you are defining the incoming call, where the incoming calls should be routed. Next point is you can also create conference rooms in Kerio Operator. And basically, we have two types of conferences you can create. You can create static ones, so which have a static extension, and you call the extension and you create a room. Or we have dynamic ones. So this is basically the difference. You can create static conferences and you can create dynamic ones when you have a dynamic conference call conference room. You just dial into this dynamic conference extension, and the user who's calling can create a new conference by just entering a random room number. This is a basic difference between those two types of conferences. You can now, when you switch to call queues, here you can see all the call queues which are existing. Auto attendance scripts means this typical thing. I think everybody of you has already been faced with this. When you call, for example, a company, you always get this: press 1 if you want to call, if you want to talk to the salesperson. Sorry, press 2 if you want to talk to support. This is where you are creating such auto attendance scripts, so you can, let's say, route the incoming calls to the specific departments. We also have ringing groups, and which is also nice and interesting, we have the so-called PBX services. So asterisk and Kerio Operator is able to have some additional functionalities when you type some combination. When you type a combination of numbers or signs on your phone. For example, the extension 50 is pre-reserved when you would like to dial into your voicemail. We also have some speed dial. So, for example, when you need to call some, let's say, US American number, and the number is, let's say, 20 digits long, you can define a speed dial. So you just dial a shorter number, and when operator recognizes this speed dial number, it will call the defined long number. I will jump over paging because paging, from my point of view, is more interesting in the US. I do not think paging is still used here in the Europe part. Paging means a little bit like a walkie-talkie functionality between phones. We have here an integration part. So here you can define some additional things. So we have an integration in Salesforce, so you can bind your Kerio Operator to the Salesforce CRM. You can define a backup place on same page, and the most interesting thing, I think, is here with Kerio Connect, because you can integrate your Kerio Operator with Kerio Connect. So whenever somebody is calling you and he is talking to your voicemail box, this voicemail can be forwarded to your inbox of your Kerio Connect. And this is definitely something I will show you later. Again, we have something here like number transformation, starting with operator 2.3. We have some additional possibility what you can do with Kerio Operator. We have something which is called click to call. So you can call directly out of a web page, out of your Kerio Operator. You just need to highlight the number, and then you can call the number via Kerio Operator. There are two approaches how you can do it. If you're going to do it via a web browser, you need an extra extension installed and a plugin installed on your browser. We are actually supporting Firefox and Chrome. This plugin needs to be installed, and then the numbers on a web page will be transformed, so you can do a right click on it and just dial it via your Kerio Operator. If you are having a number in your Kerio Connect client, the webmail, you can dial directly out of Kerio Connect client. You can click a number and dial the number. The number transformation thing is important in that case. Those numbers are maybe not in the correct format on a web page. For example, whenever there is +49, which is the country code for Germany, it needs to be transformed in 0049, for an example. Of course, you can also attach the Kerio operator to a directory service. We are supporting Active Directory from Windows and we are from Microsoft, and we are supporting Open Directory on the Apple side. So there are two approaches how you can import your users to the Kerio operator. You can have them in a local database, or you can have them attached to a directory service like Active Directory or Open Directory. The last thing here on the side is that you can have an automatic backup of your configurations and calls to either same page or to a dedicated FTP server. So the thing is, you can make a backup of the voicemail, of your configuration. Everything of this can be backupped to same page or an FTP account. Of course, you still can do a manual backup of all this stuff if you would like to have some manual backup. When you go to voicemail, you also can define some voicemail here, how voicemail should act. And the very important thing is here in security. First of all, you should definitely, and this is selected, you should only allow secure connections to your Kerio operator client. Kerio operator client is the interface where you can do calls and can look for your voicemails. Sorry.
Jump in. This is very important. And when you have something like a SIP enabled, what you end up that you know exactly the pattern of what people are actually doing in terms of calls. And if you get hacked, the one that the Carsten is going to show you afterwards, you can actually stop making outbound calls. Also, you have external attempts, and you really need to be careful with that. When people get hacked, they actually get hacked from the outside, never from the inside. So I will actually Carsten now if we can show go the outgoing calls limitation allowed.
Exactly. So we have also some predefined rule here in the security section that we limit it basically that only a maximum of 50 calls should be done per hour, and that you have a maximal duration of 2 hours per call per day. This is for security reasons. You can even add additionally rules here if you would like. So you can lower the maximum call outs, and I think this is also a very nice feature. You even can send an email notification to somebody, for example, when somebody tries to break into your Kerio operator. Next thing is the network interface, which is, let's say, not so interesting maybe, but here you can see your public IP address. This is the IP address your operator is facing, can be reached from the outside world. This could sometimes be necessary to know if you have some DNS routing problems. So if you have a problem that your operator can't be reached, like in our case here, by pbx.binebrewing.com, you should check if maybe there is something wrong in your DNS. We also definitely have here a firewall integrated in Kerio Operator, and this is something you should definitely have a look on it. So the SSH console should only be, and this is all pre-selected by us, you can change it if you would like, the SSH console, so where you're going on directly into the underlying operating system, should be restricted to the local clients. Also, hardware phone provisioning, from my point of view, makes more sense to have it limited to the local clients. Also, the CRM integration or SNMP monitoring should be limited to the local clients. Whenever you need to open your firewall to the outside for connecting for reaching such ports, we have written the ports behind the different parts you can reach, so it's more easy for you to identify the necessary ports. The last is the advanced options. Here you can do some general configurations concerning where is your country, what should be the phone language if when somebody is calling you. You can set up an SMTP relay host when you want to send alerts to some email address. Interesting is here the backup and recovery. Remote backup is here to samepage.io. I will switch it now to FTP as we have an FTP server where we can do the backup. I will now click on backup on remote, and now you can see what kind of things should be backupped to the FTP server. So you can back up, of course, your system configuration, which makes sense. But you can also back up the local voicemail data. You can back up the system logs, the call history, licenses, also the recorded calls, and you can back up your customized provisioning profiles you have maybe created for your specific phones. And we have a question here, is there any shared contact directory planned? And Marino is already going to answer it. As far as I know, yes, we are planning this. So,
Karthik, can I just chip in
absolutely.
if you don't mind? When you have integration between Kerio Connect and Operator, basically you're going to have the contact list, the GAL, on Kerio Connect, and will be actually used by Kerio Operator. Otherwise, you can do it on individual phones where you can point directly to an LDAP, and the shared LDAP will actually provide you with the shared directory.
Thank you. In the definitions part of Kerio Operator, you can define several things. For example, in the audio file library, there you can upload maybe some specific announcements you have made. For example, when like for an auto attendant script, if you would like to have something like, if you press 1, please. If you would like to have 1, please press 2. No, if you would like to talk to sales, please press 1. This sentence can be recorded and can be uploaded here, so you can define it afterwards when you're going to create your auto attendant scripts. You can define this audio file for being used with the auto attendant script. We also have here music on hold. There is some royalty-free music already integrated in your Kerio Operator. So please take care if you would like to upload some other music. Please take care that that you are allowed to use it, or maybe you have some, let's say, music on hold created where people are getting your latest offers. For example, if you buy Kerio Operator now, you get an additional Link phone for free. Please hold, so you can make your own announcements here. Also interesting and definitely worth sometimes looking at is the part of the status. So here you can see what current calls are coming, what is a call history. Here you see we have tested lots of those. You can see the recorded calls whenever you have recorded something. Again, there are restrictions in some countries, so please be aware that you need to be sure that the callers and also the people in your company are aware of that calls can be recorded. We have several other things here, and again, as interesting as maybe here the system health, because system health is again the part where you can activate the SSH access to your Kerio operator. And as you may know it already from the other product, you just need to shift click here on tasks, and then SSH will be available and you can enable or disable it. So just to show you now that everything is working and is like I expect it to work, I will just fire up my zip client and I will fire up my app Reflector so you can see actually what I'm doing here. I go here for Silver Surfer, Bildschirm. So as I said, I'm using I'm using here the software Groundwire, and I have already configured an account here for my on my iPhone. I will fire up a second client. I'm using the Bria 3 from Counterpath. There is also a free version of it, which is X Lite free. So where you can configure, this can be used for free. The only difference between the paid and the free version is in the free version you have here some advertising and you have no integration into your address book. The software, by the way, is available for Windows and Mac. I will just show you how it needs to be set up. I'm going here and I will double click here. So the user ID you are using when you want to connect is your extension. So you just type in the extension here. If you have multiple extensions, you need to use the appropriate extension of your multiple registration. You put in the domain. This is the name where the DNS name of your Kerio operator box where it can be reached. You type in the password, you type in a display name, and you type in the authorization name. This is very important at that point. And that's basically all you need to do. I'm going now to call. As you can see, I'm dialing now the 10. And you can see that Brian Jones is going to call me. What is now happening is that the voicemail came up because I didn't answer the call, and during I'm talking here, I get a recording of this, what I'm talking now, to the mailbox. And now I'm finished. So this was Brian. Sorry, Carsten, I can't reach you. Please call me back. And what I'm now going to do is I'm going into my Kerio Operator client. I'm going here, and what you may see, I make it a little bit bigger. You see, oh, here's is a one. So somebody has called me and has left some message for me. But normally do not have this Kerio Operator client open. Normally I have my webmail open. And what do I see here? I see, oh, here is a new voicemail message. So I can click here and I can listen to this voicemail immediately and directly from my Kerio Connect. And just to show you what is happening if I'm listening to it, please have a look. You see here is a 1. Here is a new message. I go here. I'm double clicking. I'm clicking on it. And now it starts playing.
That the voicemail came up because I didn't answer the call.
The voicemail has played. I close it. And now see what happens in my Kerio Operator client. The 1 has disappeared because of the interconnection between Kerio Connect and Kerio Operator, those statuses will be synchronized. So whenever you hear it, when you hear your voicemail in your operator, in your Connect, it will be synchronized back to operator that the call has already been listened to. Another interesting thing on the Kerio Operator client is you have here a dial pad, and when I would like to call somebody, I do not need to know his extension. I can just start typing the name, and you can see that the operator is taking out the number and finding the number directly in Kerio Operator, so there is no need to know that Brian has extension 20. I just need to start typing Brian, and it auto fills the correct thing, and I can just do a click on that, and then I will say dial. What he now wants to do is that I'm picking up the phone, and maybe you hear something. And let's have a look at if I can bring a reflector in front again.
Please leave your message after the tone. When done, hang up or press the pound key.
I will repeat this. So let's do it again. I will going to call Brian. I bring the phone over here. Let's dial the 20. Now I need to first pick up the phone. And here you can see I'm calling Brian at the moment. So this is what you can do with your Kerio Connect client. You also can set all the forwarding here in the Kerio Operator client. And you have also a call history where you can see what calls have been done and what calls you have maybe missed. Any questions so far? if there are no questions, so this is basically the thing I would like to show you today concerning Kerio Operator. I hope that it will help you to pass the exam, and it gives you an idea how to use Kerio Operator. And please, if you don't mind, I would like to put to bring in some poll, and I hope it's switching well. We will leave the public.
Carsten, I think there are a few questions coming from James and the others.
Yeah, but I think that the public chat window should still be open when I'm switching the polls. So let's see what's happening. So as you can see, the public chat window is still open. So I will open the polls for you, and I would be happy if you are going to answer those polls. And then we will go on and answer the additional questions. James has a question. Other than Operator Connect integration, what are the main benefits of using Operator over an alternative such as Elastics? This is definitely more a question for our salespersons. What I can tell you is when you are familiar with the other Kerio products, you will definitely find it very easy to configure the Kerio Operator. So basically, we are following our rules like simple, stable, secure. So this is a thing why you should maybe go for the Kerio Operator product, but this is something you can discuss more with maybe one of our salespersons or one of the sales engineers. Another question is, does Kerio provide support for Kerio Softphone? Can you add new features if requested? You should definitely use the suggest idea button. So yes, we are helping you in configuring the Kerio Softphone, so it will be also, when you have a valid software maintenance support, will be covered. Is there an Android Softphone? Of course. The Kerio Softphone, the Kerio Operator Softphone from Kerio itself is available also for Android, but as I said, there are a variety of free softphone clients and zip clients you can use on your mobile device, and I think there should definitely be also some free zip client for Android. Are there any plans on backing up to Amazon S3 rather than just FTP or local folders? It's not on the plan right now, but as with all of our products, you can use the suggest idea button. So maybe you should suggest this as an idea. But I do not think that this will come in a very short time. Simon is asking, can we get the Hyper-V version now? As I said, this was a mistake by myself. The more people voting for a Hyper-V version, maybe it will come. Thank you very much for attempting this webinar today. I was very pleased to have you here, and I'm even more pleased that 72% have voted that Germany will win the game against Algeria. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.